Welcome to President Hamilton's annual State of the University's address at NYU Alumni Weekend and Parents' Day. I'm Dasha Ratu, a Vice President of the NYU Alumni Association Board of Directors and a proud graduate of the Gallatin School of Individualized Study, class of 2014. I'm also an NYU Young Alumni Trustee. Today we have the privilege of hearing directly from NYU's 16th President, Andrew Hamilton, about his vision and priorities for the future of this great university. Since Andy joined the NYU family in 2016, he has dedicated himself to a remarkable evolution to become one of the world's foremost research universities with a presence that spans the globe. Since he assumed the presidency, NYU has increased its research activities by 40%. It's established a new innovation hub, which will solidify the university's status as a leading engineering, data science, media technology, and gaming leader. I've actually gotten to visit the innovation hub. It is absolutely extraordinary. And NYU has continued to see unparalleled application rates. In fact, this year we had a record-shattering 75,000 applicants just for first-year admission. And this year's acceptance rate, for the first time ever, dipped below 20%. Throughout this period of growth, Andy has also made affordability a top priority to ensure that the best and brightest young scholars, regardless of income, are able to pursue an NYU education. These efforts and the many others across the university are no small undertakings, but Andy has proven himself throughout his career to be an adept leader with a track record of success. I believe I speak for all of those who know Andy when I say that NYU could not be in better hands. Without further ado, it is my great pleasure to welcome President Andrew Hamilton.
Dasha, thank you very much for that introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, let me say how thrilled I am to be here today, to be speaking to all of you, but most especially to see such a wonderful audience on the most miserable weekend of weather. Have any of you noticed that it was sunny in New York up to Friday afternoon? It's going to be sunny on Monday morning, but Saturday and Sunday, the NYU Alumni Weekend, it is dreadful. But as I said at the Per Stare Society breakfast this morning, it takes more than a nor'easter to dampen NYU pride, violet pride. And so it's wonderful that you are all here celebrating this great university. And it's my honor this afternoon to spend just a few minutes giving you a sense of the state of the university. And the alumni at NYU are critical to our success, and it's wonderful to have so many alumni. We've got nearly 4,500 alumni and parents here this weekend, despite the weather. And my job's to give you a measure of the state of the university, and let me tell you, the university is in great health. We are strong. You heard from Dasha. Things have been going extremely well. And I thought what I'd do, and I'll move fast through my talk, but I thought what I'd do is give you a sense, firstly, by the numbers. Think NYU by the numbers. How do we look? How do we compare? Well, let me tell you, this, in 2018, NYU is ranked higher as a university than it has ever been ranked before. University rankings are a fairly troublesome thing. They try and take a complex organization like NYU and distill it to a single number. The two main rankings are US News and World Report, which is the violet, and the global rankings from Times Higher. And you will see number 27 and number 30, as I said, the highest ranking that we've ever been in the history of NYU. And so we see that that plays very significantly into not only the way in which our individual schools are ranked as well. This year, NYU School of Medicine was ranked number 3 in the country, behind Harvard and Johns Hopkins. That's not bad company for medicine. Our education school, Steinhardt, was ranked number 6 in the country. Our public affairs school, Wagner, was ranked in the top 10 for the first time. And all of you know that law is perennially ranked among the leading law schools in the country. Our business school is always in the top 10 or very close to the top 10. We have an outstanding strength in our academic area. And you've had the precursor from Dasha. You know, this has led to a stunning number of applications, 75,000 more than any other private university in America. And there are only a couple of other huge state universities like Berkeley and Penn State that get more applications than NYU. And if you use applications as a measure of appeal, of popularity, then that tells you that NYU is the most popular, the place that students want to study at more than any other private school in America. Quite remarkable. And let me tell you, this isn't just numbers that is increasing. The quality of the students applying to study at NYU is increasing. So this incoming class, the class of 2022 that arrived in September, their median SAT score is 1430, up 50 points from last year, 1380 last year. And I'm afraid alumni who are in the room today, I have to tell you something that it's actually unlikely you'd get in now. But, you know, never mind, we love you anyway. And it's a part of the success of NYU. I have the great privilege of building on the legacy of my wonderful predecessor, John Sexton. Some of you will have known John, and all of the leadership that has gone before me. And this is a measure of that great strength. And you heard as well, our admit rate, the percentage of those applications, the percentage that we admit to undergraduate study is the lowest it's ever been, 21%, down 7% from 28 last year. So really a very positive story. And you know, the students we are getting at the other end as they graduate, we have had this past year 2 Rhodes Scholars, a Schwarzman Scholar, that's a very prestigious program for students to go and study in China. We've had 22, a Truman Scholar, we've had 22 Fulbrights. In the last 5 years, we've had 10 Rhodes Scholars at NYU. And for me, that is a particular personal pleasure, because where do Rhodes Scholars go to study? They go to Oxford. Where did I come from to be president of NYU? I was the head of Oxford. So it's a particular delight for me to see us really competing with the preeminent universities in the country, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, in the number of Rhodes Scholars that we've been getting. It's very gratifying. And of course, as I know there are parents in the room as well, and we all care about employment. We all care that our graduates, I always say, and I'll say it to you, the job of a university, the job of NYU, is to prepare our students for their first job, to get them ready for employment. And you can see from this statistic that 96.5, one of the highest percentages in America, of our graduates 6 months out are either in full-time employment or in graduate school. Now, I said one of our jobs is to get students ready for their first job. One of our responsibilities is to get students ready for their first job. But we have another equally important responsibility, which is to prepare our students for their 5th job. And it won't be for another 25, 30 years in a world that we can't possibly predict, in an economy we can't possibly know what it will look like. And so that fundamental role of a university like NYU, to prepare students for critical thinking, for adaptability, creativity, in a world where likely robots and artificial intelligence will be playing a significant role. We need to be sure that our graduates, for their 5th job, will be well prepared to respond to the changing economic climate, the changing world that they will be part of. Now, the contributions that NYU graduates make to the world, it's such an honor and a pleasure to be part of a university that has the Tisch School of the Arts, the Steinhardt School with its wonderful music and musical theater program. Gallatin has strong links to the entertainment industry. NYU is #1 in the country for stars on Broadway. Any of you who watched the Oscars whenever it was, February, March, there was a wonderful headline the following day after the Oscars, and it was the Oscar for most alumni Oscar nominees, i.e. graduates of a school who were nominated for an Oscar. That Oscar for the most alumni Oscar nominees goes to ... NYU. We had more Oscar nominees. The Steinhardt, any of you who know the Sundance Film Festival in Utah every year, really significant film festival. This year, 35% of the movies shown at Sundance had NYU alums connected to them in producing, in writing, in part of. I love this picture because any of you who know who that is, that's the person playing the lead in that magnificent musical named after me, Hamilton. And this is Javier Munoz. And Javier Munoz plays Hamilton. Jenny and I met him backstage when we went to see Hamilton. And I have a wonderful photograph of me shaking his hand. And it's Hamilton meets Hamilton. It's wonderful. And Javier, of course, is a graduate of the Tisch School of the Arts. Now, let me say, this is a celebration of those who've graduated and are at the very highest levels of the cultural world in America. If you want to see the next generation, there are 2 wonderful shows on this weekend and all next week. One of them is Next to Normal, which is being put on by the Tisch New Theatre, and another one that Jenny and I are going to see tomorrow afternoon is Peter and the Starcatcher, that's being put on by the Steinhardt Musical Theatre program. So for alumni and parents, there are shows, musical theatre shows, marvelous shows of the next generation of stars that you can see. And of course, those are our graduates, but we care hugely about the quality of our faculty, and a university in many ways is defined by our faculty. This year has been a fabulous year. This is a photograph of Ta-Nehisi Coates, the great author, and he was one of our 4 elected members of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and we also had 2 of NYU's faculty elected to the highly prestigious National Academy of Arts and Sciences, and there's one other. Let me just see if I can remember. There's one other award that we've got just in the last, oh yes, a Nobel Prize. One of our faculty members won a Nobel Prize. Paul Romer won the Nobel Prize for Economics this year, and we were thrilled, a recognition. He joins 3 others, so we have 4 active faculty members who are recipients of Nobel Prizes at NYU, a measure of quality, a measure of their success. Now, you heard from Dasha, research is a really important part of what NYU does, and this is just the upward trend, even during a time when any of you who follow science and science policy will know that actually the funding of science research in Washington, D.C., unfortunately, with the current administration, has not been increasing. And this is a good example of NYU, however, because of its commitment to the quality of faculty, the quality of students, the quality of research. Our total amount of funding for research is now beyond $700 million. And there's a ranking that the National Science Foundation does every year relative to all American universities. A decade ago, we were round about 60 in the country, and you can see today, the latest data, we are number 23 in the country. We've still, I love the fact we've still got plenty of room to go. Universities always, always, always must strive to improve, and we are constantly committed to seeking to improve. I want that number in the top 20, and then in time I want it in the top 10. But it's a very, very good story of an upward trend. And one of the things that's been important here has been a commitment to mega grants. We call them mega grants. This is grants that are more than $2 million, major research problem, interdisciplinary research problems. A few years ago, we only were submitting 11, 2015, 37. Now, this past year, we've submitted 155 proposals, which were mega grants by our definition. Now, fundraising is a very, very important measure. For us, it allows us to do things we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And I'm thrilled that this past year, we were able to announce the reaching of our goal, a $1 billion goal for the Momentum campaign. That's a campaign, fundraising campaign at NYU focused solely on financial aid, on support to students. And we are now at $1.2 billion focused solely on financial aid. And I thank you. And let me say, part of this campaign was that magnificent announcement that we made just about 2 months ago that NYU's medical school would become tuition-free for all of its students. And I have just come back from a trip to Asia. Jenny and I were in Korea, and then we were in China. And we were told by our Korean and our Chinese alumni that the announcement about tuition-free medical school was on the national 9 o'clock evening news of both Korea and China. And so the impact of that announcement, you saw it on the national news in America, but it was across the world recognized as a truly bold, a truly remarkable achievement. And this past year, for fundraising across the university, we have hit a staggering number. We have raised $716 million for the support of the academic activities at NYU. And he's sitting over there, David Kaler, somewhere. David has been a key part, stepping in during this past year as the head of fundraising and alumni relations. And so for us, this is a measure that we're doing something right, that our friends, our supporters want to be part of this exciting university where our students come in from all backgrounds, we educate them, and then we send them out into the world to do great things. And we've touched upon some of those great things. Alumni engagement, similarly. This is a wonderful slide for me because it's a measure of the involvement of our senior class in their senior gift. And again, alumni participation is a very important measure of the view of our students, of their experience at NYU. Only a few years ago, we were well below 20%. This year, we were touching 60%. So the numbers are increasing, and we now want to get that number up to 80 and 90% because it allows us not only to connect to our alumni, the new young alumni who will become so important for the university in coming years. You heard from Dasha that a commitment that I made when I arrived at NYU was that we would focus on affordability. We would focus on the high cost of NYU tuition. And let me say that part of that is the Momentum campaign and raising funds for financial aid. But another part of it, in 2015, this is the ranking. This is a ranking we do not want to be top of. This is a ranking of cost of attendance. And in 14-15, we were 4th in the country. Among major research universities, we were second in the country, only behind Columbia. And of course, we can understand the cost of living in Manhattan is very high, and Columbia and NYU both suffer that. But now, by focusing on costs, by keeping tuition rises down, by freezing room and board, as we did a couple of years ago, we've now got 17, 18. Our cost of attendance was 27th in the country, and we want that number to go down and down and down. So it's a challenge, and I will say it's not straightforward, because the one thing we are not going to compromise on is quality. The quality of the education is critical, but being thoughtful, being careful, focusing on imaginative ways of lowering costs for students are the strategies we've been taking. Now, it won't surprise you, I often meet my colleagues at other universities in America. And every now and then, when I meet the president, let's say, of Ohio State, or the president of Michigan, University of Michigan, I get a little envious, because today, Saturday afternoon, they'll be heading out to their 100,000-seater stadiums to watch their football teams play. And so every now and then I get a little envious, and then I stop for a moment and think, do I really want to be contributing to the number of concussion cases that America is going to have to deal with? And the answer to that is no, I don't. So, and ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to, because I want to tell you that NYU is an athletics powerhouse. NYU this year has one of its sports teams that is number 1 in the country. All universities, Division I and Division III, we are a sports powerhouse in ping pong. And we are number 1 in the country. And when you think about how popular ping pong is in the world, this is a big deal. I can assure you there are more people who play ping pong around the world than play football. So this is a big deal. We were number 1 in the country in ping pong this past year. And this is not just ping pong. No, the NYU is part of Division III, in all seriousness. Our athletics are part of Division III, and that means something profound. It means that we have true scholar athletes. These are not people taking, special courses for offensive linemen, forgive me, any former offense, these are courses, these are engineers, these are mathematicians, these are students taking real courses. In Division III, there are 445 schools that comprise Division III. This past year, all of our athletic programs, the ranking for the totality of our athletic programs was 19 out of 445. That is pretty good. And we had the number 1 ping pong. We had the first ever in the history of NYU men's individual swimming championship. Our men's and women's fencing team was ranked number 1 in Division III out of all those 445, and it was ranked number 12 in all schools, including Division I. So our men's and women's fencing team, remarkable. And it's a part of student life. Jenny and I love to go to basketball and volleyball and various events. And it's a measure, of that special school spirit, but also that commitment to excellence. We do things properly. We commit to excellence in our academic work, but we also commit to excellence with true student athletes on the sports fields. Let me just very swiftly run through, what behind, I've given you numbers and to give you a little flavor of NYU in 2000, but what's behind the metrics? Well, of course, people are what makes this place run. And here's some of the new leadership that we've recently recruited. Any of the graduates of Tandon School of Engineering in the top right-hand corner is Jelena Kovacevic, who's the dean, the new dean, first female dean in the history of that School of Engineering. And Jelena arrived in September. We have a new director, Julia Kempe, of the Division of the Center for Data Science. Raghu Sundaram is our new Dean of Stern School of Business. And on the bottom right is Austin Booth, our Dean of the Library System. Again, new leadership, important in rejuvenating the school. And a key part of our world, a key part of NYU, are the students. And I've talked already about undergraduate students. A key contributor to our academic mission are the graduate students, the doctoral students. And this past year, we've been really focusing a lot of attention on our doctoral students, increasing support, financial support for them, strengthening the curriculum, the experience they have, preparing them for the world of employment, and employment that may well not be in universities, given a really very, very, very tight job market there. So for us, we seek constantly to make NYU a welcoming place, a place that is committed to inclusion, to diversity, to belonging, and to equity among our faculty, our staff, and our students. And for the past several years, but certainly last year and continuing this year, we have made major strides. We've had really an institutional conversation about what it means to be a student at NYU, what it means to work at NYU, and how we can make this place welcoming, how we can make it warm, embracing of all, no matter what their background, no matter what their ethnicity and race, no matter what their sexual orientation or social, socioeconomic background. This is a place that is committed, and we will continue to focus on this area. Dasha mentioned the commitment to diversity that we all make, and it's a very important part of NYU. Innovation, we can never stop reinventing ourselves. Dasha touched on this herself. We should never stop seeking to do things better, seeking to do things in new ways. NYU is 187 years old. No, the only reason it's still relevant, tell me a company on the Dow Jones stock market that's 187 years old. You'll have a hard time finding one. There isn't one. Universities, I came from Oxford, which is nearly 900 years old. Universities have a longevity. They have a role in society that I think is terribly important, particularly with the buffeting winds of sort of geopolitical change that we're all living through right now. But one of the ways that universities are able to live so long and to continue in their core mission of teaching and research is because they constantly are changing, constantly reinventing themselves, constantly making themselves relevant for the time that they're passing through. And whether that time is the 14th century in Oxford's case, or the 19th century in NYU, or the 21st century as we're now living, that's what's important, that we keep thinking about new things. Science is a key part of that. We're investing in science very significantly. We are creating new labs around Washington Square. We've built and renovated labs in the School of Engineering. This is a very major commitment for us. Medicine has specifically invested significant funds to create a new research building. You see it as you drive down the FDR driveway, and you'll see on the right-hand side as you go down the FDR all of the new buildings that are going up at Langone Medical Center. Science infrastructure is important. We have just created this past year a new department, a department of Biomedical Engineering that links Tandon School of Engineering to the Langone Medical School and basic sciences down here in Washington Square. It's a wonderful field. It's all focused on things like sensing, glucose in your blood, sensing proteins that might be involved in human disease, biomaterials, helping the heart transplantation program at Langone deal with rejection, all of those things that connect engineering to medicine. That's a new department for us. Equally as important is new media. And so in Brooklyn, in partnership with the Brooklyn Navy Yards, we've created a new center for augmented and virtual reality. And I love to talk to the students and the faculty at the Tisch School of the Arts because, 400 years ago, when you wanted to tell a story, you wrote a book, or you painted a picture in oil paint. Today, if you want to tell a story, you design a game for the iPhone, or you develop an augmented or a virtual reality, which is the 21st century form of the visual arts, storytelling, that ancient human activity of telling narratives, telling stories, now is done or can be done through the use of augmented reality and virtual reality. And let me say something else. This is another dimension of the importance of NYU in the world that it sits in. In this campus, New York City, the opportunity to spin out companies, to start and contribute to the economy of New York City. This is all part of that, and a focus on incubator spaces. And any of you who know Brooklyn, this is a wonderful new building. It's called the 370 J Street. That's a very dull name. But it used to be a building, a part of the MTA, the Metropolitan Transport Authority, here in the city of New York. We've kept, until we can find a donor, if there's anyone out there who'd like to fund this building, we've kept the MTA, but for us it's media, technology, and the arts. It's bringing together the artists, new media, new technology, computer science, 5G work that's going on at Tandon, but with creative leaders as well. It's a wonderful 500,000 square foot building, and the renovation, it's already being occupied, and the renovation will be completed in the next few months. Online, we live in a world, a digital world, an online world, and NYU is not sitting still as this world unfolds. These are the number of enrolled students who are enrolled solely in online classes, not living in New York City or Abu Dhabi or Shanghai, but perhaps in Nebraska or California or Mexico. And so we're up to over 4,000 online enrolled students today. And any of you who might be intrigued or thinking, we've now brought all our online programs together on a single website, NYU Online. Do go and look and see if there's anything that interests you, because one of the real focus points for our online activities is the possibility that this becomes a way in which lifelong learning can be easily achieved for our alumni or anyone else who wants to stay connected to their field or wants to explore the world of contemporary culture through our courses. So online learning is a very significant part of our innovation, and I don't have to tell this audience this. Global engagement is also a key part of our of our innovation, the way we think about connecting our students to the world in innovative ways. You all know that we have campuses in Shanghai and in Abu Dhabi. Now we have 11 other mini campuses all around the world. 10 of them in different countries, from Buenos Aires and Sydney and Tel Aviv, Accra, Florence. As I like to point out, we have a campus in the most foreign city in the entire world at the moment, and that's, of course, NYU Washington, D.C. But that, too, is there for our students to begin to understand the nature of the American political system. We're about to enter some midterms in a couple of weeks' time, and our students can then learn by being there. And again, I may have, any of you who were here last year, forgive me, I'm going to say something I may have said last year, at a time when the political rhetoric, whether it be in the UK with Brexit, withdrawal and isolation, whether it be our current leadership in Washington, D.C., talking about building walls, I couldn't be prouder to be part of a university that's building bridges, not building walls. And it's doing so through our global commitment. And, we haven't put any new names on this list for a while, but there's one that may be on this list next year, and this is Jenny and me, and then next to me is Catherine Fleming, our provost, our wonderful provost, and we are in Athens. And we have a presence in Athens. There are a significant number of graduate students and faculty who work there. We have a summer program in Athens, and we are planning on expanding our presence in Athens. It gives us an opportunity to connect students to the ancient world, of course, but it also gives us an opportunity to connect students to very modern issues like migration. We all know Greece has been on the front line of dealing with migration and also economic challenges of austerity and the European Union and the IMF, all of which are very much part of the modern world in Greece. So I'll finish my last slides. There is nothing more important than the impact that what we do has on the world. And I could now talk for another hour and talk about 100, 200 different examples. I'm just going to choose two or three or four of what I think are truly important impacts that NYU has on the world. And sustainability is one. We're focused, as we must be, on reducing our carbon footprint. We've made a commitment to get our carbon footprint down 50% from what it was in 2006, and we will do it in the next 7 years, by 2025. All of our new buildings, all of our renovations are now at the highest levels of sustainability and carbon efficiency. This is one of, to me, the most powerful things of many that NYU. Our College of Dentistry, did you all know NYU has the largest school of dentistry in America? 1 in every 10 dentists in America are NYU alumni. And we have one here, so it's wonderful. Our wonderful College of Dentistry already provides hundreds of thousands of treatment opportunities every year for underserved populations in the city and beyond. They provide for people who otherwise would not have dental health service an opportunity to improve their oral health. This is a new initiative. The renovation is taking place right now. This will be at our College of Dentistry, a place where people with disabilities, physical, yes, but actually even more powerfully, for people with learning disabilities. I don't know about you, and forgive me, I'm going to say this to our dentist in the audience. I get nervous, I get hesitant before I go to the dentist. Can you imagine what it's like for a child with Down syndrome or an autistic child to have that fear of pain and of needles and of drills? And so this is going to be focused on them. It will be the only one on the eastern seaboard of the United States that will be not only providing the kind of physical space, but there's a psychological dimension to this as well. There will be a room that helps calm, that helps reduce the anxiety for the patients before they go in to have their treatment. I'm going to, late at night, I'm going to reserve some time for the president to go into that calm room before I start my next day of activities. But it truly is a wonderful initiative. I mentioned Spin Out. This is the Deputy Governor of New York State, and it was at the launch of the Veterans Lab. We have an incubation lab, so encouraging veterans returning from overseas, returning from military service, to help prepare them to play a role in the burgeoning startup economy of New York City. We provide space, we provide business education. I agree, it's a wonderful initiative. And it's one of many, but this is particularly focused on veterans. And another, socially significant, and I think terribly important activity, there are a significant number of NYU faculty who every week, twice a week, take a 5-hour round trip from New York up to a prison, the Wallkill State Penitentiary in upstate New York, and they give classes to incarcerated men in that prison. A group, 5 of the incarcerated individuals, reached the point of graduation. And I promised that if they got a student to graduation, that I would go up with, you can see, with all my NYU bling, violet as far as the eye could see. And in the prison, because obviously they can't leave, in the prison, we had a graduation ceremony. It was one of the most moving afternoons. And you began to realize true power of education. For these people, these men, it's a male penitentiary. For these men, their lives had gone wrong, but education was going to be the mechanism by which they got their lives on track. And I'm thrilled that 3 of these young men who graduated have been released and are at the square continuing their degree. So it's a very important program. But this is my almost last slide. And, the most important impact of NYU is our students. These are 3 photographs of graduation in Yankee Stadium, in Abu Dhabi, and in Shanghai. The graduation days are always glorious. It rained, by the way, last May at Yankee Stadium. It didn't rain in Abu Dhabi. However, it was about 110 degrees, so it had its own challenges. But these are truly marvelous events. You all remember, alumni in the room, your graduation day. These students go on and do great things, and this is my favorite slide. This was on one of our graduating students' mortarboards. Be the change you want to see in the world. And we couldn't imagine a better end to an update on the university that defines why we do what we do. And again, let me thank all of you for being here listening to me, but let me especially thank you for your support, your loyal dedication to NYU. We couldn't do what we do without it. Thank you all very much. Thank you.